Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. On today's show, I've got my 5-step plan for a perfect Browns offseason. Today's show, by the way, quick PSA, was filmed during our live show, which airs every Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern. But let's jump into it. Let's not waste any time. My perfect offseason for the Browns starts with this: signing Daron Payne. You're not doing it right if you're not signing Daron Payne, right? Daron Payne is absolutely the start of what I believe would be a perfect offseason for the Browns. We've shown Daron Payne's stats plenty of times. I want to put it under a new light, though. Look at Daron Payne, just Payne, against the Browns' defensive tackles, and that's Tommy Togiai, Jordan Elliott, Taven Bryan, and Perrion Winfrey. 4v1. And Payne has about double the sacks, nearly double the QB hits, and he's more than double tackles for loss. Do I have to go on much further? Daron Payne single-handedly outdid 4 players on the Browns roster. That should say everything you need to know. Now, when it comes to signing Daron Payne, I think we're all in agreement the stats check out. The skill level, it's all there. The age, all that good stuff. Now, Spotrac does contract projections, and what they did for Daron Payne was they projected a 5-year, $97 million contract, which comes out to an average of $19.4 million. That is way richer than Andrew Berry has ever indulged for a defensive tackle in what's been a relatively small career so far as a GM. Now, I've got some good news. I got some bad news when it comes to Daron Payne. The bad news is Washington may franchise tag him. And if they do, all this is for nothing, unless there's a tag and trade. The good news is this: it's the Commanders. If there's one team to botch this, it would be the Washington Commanders, right? That's the one team that would let a good player go, and the rest of the NFL goes, oh, God bless Washington for being one of the most inept franchises in the National Football League. So if this was any other team, I'd be a lot more nervous about that actually happening. But knowing Washington, there's a 78% chance they're going to screw this up. So I'm waiting for that 78% chance to hit. But when we look at that contract, I want to hear from you all. Would you do this deal? Would you give out about kind of round up 5-year, $100 million, $20 million average? That would make him the 4th highest paid defensive tackle in football. So that's how contracts work. It doesn't always reflect where they are amongst their divisional standings. But you know, every new contract's supposed to be bigger than the last one. So let me know in the comment section below. Now, my second part of my perfect offseason is if you can't get Daron Payne because Washington franchise tags him, trade for DeForest Buckner. I think DeForest Buckner would be a very fun pickup for the Browns this offseason. One, look at what he's done the last 4 seasons. We're talking about one of the best interior rushers. You can kind of move him around the defensive line, which I like a lot. 8 sacks for the Colts, and Indianapolis is looking to hit a hard reset. If they move up, by the way, to go get a quarterback with the Bears' first overall pick or something, they're going to give up a lot. And they might try to recoup some of those assets they gave up by unloading DeForest Buckner for, I don't know, well, a second-round pick maybe, which we'll look at in just a second. But first, we got a new sponsor I'm really excited to share with you guys. Today's Cleveland Browns Report is sponsored by my favorite cereal, Magic Spoon. Growing up, cereal was one of the best parts of being a kid, but I had to give it up because I realized it was full of sugar and junk that you really shouldn't eat. But Magic Spoon is cereal reinvented. I start every day with a bowl of Magic Spoon. It tastes amazing, and honestly, it's too good to be true. Magic Spoon tastes exactly like regular cereal from your childhood, but is super nutritious with 13 to 14 grams of protein and 0 grams of sugar. Magic Spoon comes in delicious flavors such as cocoa, fruity, and frosted, and peanut butter, and is only 140 calories per serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. I love Magic Spoon because it tastes great and it's good for you. I'm never going to go back to regular cereal. Start your new year off right with Magic Spoon. Use the QR code on screen or go to magicspoon.com/chat and use my code chat for $5 off your own personalized Magic Spoon variety pack and stay on track on your New Year's resolution. That's magicspoon.com/chat or scan the QR code and use code CHAT. The link, by the way, is in the comments and the description of today's show. Magic Spoon is so confident in their own product, it's backed with 100% happiness guaranteed. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money and no questions asked. Once again, I've got all that information for you all in the comments and the description of today's show. Shout out Magic Spoon. Make sure you get that information in the comments and the description, like I said. So, the trade idea I cooked up is pretty simple, right? There's always some extra day 3 picks usually tossed in, but just at the surface level, DeForest Buckner for a second-round pick. So, I know parting ways with a second-round pick's never really that fun or easy, especially when you don't have a first-round pick, which I can get the hesitation for. In fact, let's look at the Browns' 2023 draft picks this year, and they don't have a ton of ammunition outside of, they don't have a ton of ammunition early on. Now, they still have 7 picks, which it could be worse. I think the Dolphins had like 5 picks last year. That second-round pick's pretty valuable because after that, it's a long fall. You only have 1 pick in the top 100, and it's pick 99. So, before you kind of throw your tomatoes at your screen and run me off going, no way am I trading away the second-round pick when the Browns don't even have a first-round pick. I get that. But can we go back in time for a quick second right now? Let's go back to the 2019 draft. I think it's fair to evaluate this draft because they played 2019, 20, 21, and 2022. So 4 seasons. We have a good idea of who these guys are by now. These are the picks that were taken right around where the Browns are selected. The Browns have the 42nd round pick. Drew Lock, an F. A guy we've never heard of, Tavai for the Lions, C, because he plays some games. Jenkins, good pick by the Packers. I give it an A. Joejuan Williams, I asked our Patriots guy, what do you know about Joejuan Williams? And he goes, run far away from it. I'm like, all right, well, that says everything I need to know. Greedy Williams started off good, healthy scratch down the stretch this year. I give it a C-. That's not enough. How about 2018? Mike Gesicki, B-, maybe a bit better because he had some moments, but the Dolphins aren't bringing him back. Kerryon Johnson, D-. Dante Pettis, D-. Josh Jackson, D+. Look at that spread right there. The point I'm trying to make is I know it's never fun to move on from draft picks. But let's be clear. I'll take a proven talent over maybe hitting one of those picks, which we just saw. Most of them are misses. In fact, majority of the picks are misses. Take some time. I always love to do this. Pick a random draft. Go back to it. It's always kind of fun to see like, oh, this team took this guy in front of this guy. You know what I mean? We took Jedrick Wills ahead of Tristan Wirfs and Grant Delpit in front of Antoine Winfield. But it's never fun moving on from draft picks. But if it's for proven talent, DeForest Buckner is proven talent. Sign me up. I know it would not be fun only having 1 pick in the top 100. But look at the hit rate for those second-round picks were just the last, 2 gradable drafts, in my opinion. Not pretty good. Now, the offseason is upon us, so if you are looking for the best Browns YouTube offseason coverage, you found the right channel. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. I'm trying to grow this channel so I can get more Browns content out to you guys. Here at Chat Sports, we have close to all 32 NFL teams covered, and it's a pecking order, and it's decided by subscribers. So if you're tired of the Browns being neglected or disrespected by the national media, me too, except it's in the walls of Chat Sports. Help me get more Browns content out by getting more subscribers and thus getting more studio space. Perfect off-season prong number 3. Trade back in the draft. So number 3 is kind of contingent on how 1 and 2 go, right? If you trade for DeForest Buckner, you're not moving back in the draft. You don't have a second-round pick. But if you do sign Daron Payne, for example, I think trading back, I know it's not the fun thing to do, but the Browns did it last year, and it got them some extra picks that ended up in Cade York and Martin Emerson. They might not look back and be too upset about that. When we look at the Browns the NFL 2023 draft order, Cleveland right now is picking 42nd overall. So the way I look at it is this. If these 5 guys, and this list is going to grow as I do more draft prep and whatnot, let's say these 5 guys are off the board and taken. Browns are on the clock. Mozzie Smith, Ika, Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs, Antonio Johnson, all are taken already. Well, then I might really consider going, the guys I like the most are gone at this point. So if that's the case, whoever I'm picking, I might be able to get a little bit later. And then maybe you do a trade like you did last year. Remember this trade with the Texans, which resulted in getting Martin Emerson? Look at this 2022 draft day trade that the Browns pulled off with the Texans. They got a third and 2/4 for the 44th overall pick. They moved from 44 to 68, so 24 spots, quick math, no big deal, and picked up 2 additional picks in order to do so. This is my trade idea now. What if the Browns and the Chargers, maybe the Chargers decide we want to kind of go all in, we see a guy we like, let's move up. I don't know. I kind of picked a team that felt like they would trade up. The Browns and the Chargers swap second-round picks. So Cleveland goes from 42 to 53, and they also pick up a 4th-rounder and a future 3rd-round pick. How does that sound? I think this might not be super fun, but keep in mind, 2024, the Browns only have 5 picks right now, right? And that would be with this trade here, right? If they pull off this trade, they're going to pick up a 3rd. Without it, they have a 2nd, a 3rd, a 5th, and a 6th, and that's it. That's not enough for Andrew Berry. He's going to want to get more picks, hence the Troy Hill trade, for example. So if that trade goes down, Cleveland now looks at 2024 going, we moved back 11 spots, and now we have a 2nd and 2/3. Still don't have a 1st, but a 2nd and 2/3 we can make some noise with. My 4th prong of a perfect offseason is re-signing Anthony Walker. I really debated who they wanted to sign between Anthony Walker. Here, don't put that on. It's not correct. Anthony Walker or Takitaki. Anthony Walker got hurt early on in the season, of course. They lost him in the Steelers game against a really cheap shot, too, if I might add. And he was a big-time leader. He was the green dot, the voice of this defense, and it was a bummer when he went down. So losing Anthony Walker clearly put this defense behind a little bit. Takitaki filled in well. That Bengals game was awesome. But then he got hurt because all Browns linebackers got hurt. 71 tackles, 1 sack, and 4 tackles for loss for Takitaki. So when I'm trying to think of what the Browns need to do, they definitely got to start looking at their linebacker room. And I don't think it's going to be a major point of emphasis in terms of money. That's going to go to defensive line and maybe another safety, because I know Jim Schwartz loves to run a very scheme that's free safety friendly, and John Johnson's probably not going to be that guy. We'll talk about him in a minute. So if you had to pick a player to re-sign, who would it be, Walker or Takitaki? This one I'm open to. I think Walker, right? I've seen more from Walker, that's why, than Takitaki. Takitaki had some good special teams to start his career. He had a good stretch until he got hurt this year, but I'm going to hope on Anthony Walker. The only issue is 2 years in Cleveland, 2 injury-plagued seasons. Sounds like you already know what you're getting into. But if he wants to come back on like a 1-year, $4 million contract, I'm in. 5th and final prong of my perfect offseason. I feel bad for saying it, but it's release John Johnson. It's not even because he sucks, which I don't think he sucks. I think he's probably a bit of a disappointment for the contract given out, but because they need help in the cap space. Right now, they're in the red. Now, they can make some money up by restructuring contracts like Deshaun Watson and whatnot, but also by releasing John Johnson, right? 2023 cap savings with a post-June 1 release, $8.8 million. That could go a long way. They're going to have to make some room, right? The Browns right now, current cap space is negative $14 million. The projected cap space for next year, $20 to $30 million. And that's with projections like releasing John Johnson, restructuring contracts, doing stuff like that, the rollover and whatnot. $20 to $30 million. We just looked at earlier. Daron Payne might sign $20 million average. If that's the case and you have $25 million, you're not doing a whole lot of other room in free agency. So John Johnson, they just need that money more than they need him. So that is my 5-step plan for a perfect offseason. Grade it for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section below how you would grade my perfect offseason for the Browns.